Hi, guys, and welcome to Keep Hope Alive podcast. Boy, do we have a show for you. I have Miss Leah M Forney here with us today. Welcome. And
Thank you.
she's done so many things. She's CEO, she's an author, 9 times author. Oh my goodness gracious. Podcast speaker. I mean, what else? Your show is called Hey Queen Thrive. I love that. That is very, very catchy and very clever. But before we get started, I just have one quick question for you. How many weddings have you been to in last 15 years?
Oh, that's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably say 5 in the last 15 years.
Five. Okay. So during the ceremony, you're walking in, let's say it's just a church, and over here might be a table. What is that thing people sign to let the bride and
The
groom know you were there?
the guest book.
Yes. Okay. Great, great, great. Gotta love weddings. Well, lifeonrecord.com is one of our sponsors here. And instead of doing a guest book, they have a vintage rotary phone that your guests can pick up and leave a message. So I call it the collection of voices. And,
Mm.
they're going to say, congratulations on your wedding, or dude, it's about time you put a ring on that finger and married her, whatever it may be. You're going to have all different personality types and everything like that. But they also have a QR code right next to the phone. So your guests can also take out their own mobile device, scan that code, use that to leave the message either before or after. Just don't do it during. And then once all these messages get collected up, they will burn it either on a 12-inch vinyl record, or they have a keepsake box, and I like to call it boom box. I don't know why, but it's a keepsake boom. So, maybe it's a year anniversary and you're sitting in there with your cake, and I don't know many people that read the guest book, but now you can put it on record player and listen to everybody and
Yeah.
just laugh and have a good time and remember this day, this happened. And it's really cool. Now they have it for 1 year. It's $99, which is great. But you can find more information about them at www.lifeonrecord.com. All right, Leah, I'm so excited. So, 9 times published.
Yeah.
Girl, who are you?
Listen, that's such a great question. So I always try to tell people who I am more than anything, titles, accolades. I'm a woman of God that just loves doing what God has called me to do, which is to serve his people, to help them through their healing journeys, whether that's through my books, whether that's through my podcast, whether that's through speaking. So outside of that, I'm an incredible bonus mom, an incredible partner to my significant other, and an auntie of 12. I have
Oh,
12 nieces and nephews, and I love them dearly.
this time. Woo.
Yeah, like all from the ages of 14 down to like a year old. So you
Wow.
can tell how my Christmas goes.
Yes. I be start buying presents now.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So 12, I mean 12 months, yeah, that makes this, sense. Get a present every month
Yeah.
and just have it stocked up. But yeah, so well, like where are you from? And
Yeah, so I'm originally born and raised in New York City. And then I've traveled a few places. So after I left New York, I was like in Philadelphia for a little while. Then I went further south. I went into the Carolinas for a little bit. I was in North Carolina and South Carolina. And now I'm back further north. Well, kind of the middle. I'm in Maryland. So I'm not too far from New
Maryland.
York, but I'm not too far from the Carolinas either.
Oh, nice. So did you have a favorite state that you stayed in?
Favorite state would probably, outside of my hometown, because New York will always be home to me, I would probably say North Carolina was probably my
North
favorite state.
Carolina. That's cool. That's cool. I like that. I was born in New Jersey, exit four.
Nice.
They always tell me that you have to say your exit. Oh, okay. So I learned it was four, but yeah, you know, do you follow football at all?
So here's the funny thing. I have never ever really watched football because I don't understand it, but I am happily in love with a man who's an Eagles fan. So I feel like I'm like kind of an Eagles fan by like choice because that is what he that's who he is. So I watch, but I be like, I have no idea what you're talking
Oh,
about.
it's beautiful. I love it. I'm an Eagles fan in Texas. So I grew up with my dad watching all the Eagles games, and I fell in love with it then. We moved to Texas. I've been here for like 25 years. Well, why aren't you a Cowboys fan? I go, it's not the younger years of watching my dad watch the Eagles and seeing that, it's like the Eagles are on, everybody is like, go
Yeah,
away.
yeah, yeah. That's kind of how it is in our household. And I feel you because I'm a Lakers girl. And my whole entire family on the East Coast was like, I'm sorry, how are you from the East Coast? And you're a Lakers girl. And I'm like, well, New York really doesn't have a good basketball team. So
Yeah.
sorry.
Like I look at Oklahoma Thunder more than the Mavericks. I don't know why. I like hearing about them playing. And then as college football, Sooner, Boomer Sooner. My
Yeah.
dad moved to Oklahoma. I think they represent the college really good, and
Mm-hmm.
all that. My brother did go to school there, so but I've been in Texas my whole life, and I feel like almost like a traitor, but I'm gonna go with who I like now, the hockey. I like the Stars, so I'll follow that one.
Yeah,
But
I'm not big into college, and it's funny because when I was living in North Carolina, you either are a Duke fan or Carolina Tar Heels, and it would always be funny because like some of my spiritual parents, my father was a Tar Heel fan, so I would just purposely go against them and be like, I'm a vote for Duke, and he would be like, I'm gonna disown you if you vote for Duke. Like, so I used to see how big college football and basketball was in North Carolina. It was
um,
super funny.
that is so cool. Yeah. And I mean, like our rivalry here is Cowboys and Eagles. They don't like each other. But, I went on a first date last week and it was so cool because he's a
Nice.
Cowboys fan. And then he learned what I am, but he wore his jersey on the first date. So I put on my Eagle shirt. And you know what? We just clicked.
Yeah,
And it shows that you can date an Eagles girl, Jersey girl, Eagles,
yeah,
whatever. There's no hard feelings. It's just to me, it's a game. So, but other
yeah.
than that, a CEO. So what I gotta learn more about the CEO part.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that you do for the CEO part?
So, my journey as a CEO has transformed over the years. When I first wrote and published my first book, I kind of was in the coaching space. I was helping other women write and publish their books. And then I really started getting into public relations and media because I learned so well how to like pitch myself. And so I kept like landing interview after interview. And then people kept coming to me like, how are you doing this? Like, how are you successfully getting all these podcast interviews, all these radio show interviews? And so I knew then I was like, you know what? I got something here. So let's develop it. And so I created a whole media entity, and my brand is called Boss Women Pitch. And Boss is spelled BAWSE. It stands for Bold, Ambitious Women Seeking Exposure. And
Cool.
as a CEO of that company, like I not only teach you the skills to pitching, but I also believe in creating your own media entity. So that's where like the podcast came in because I
Yep.
realized that really what the media looks for is not only earned media, which is the media you get from like interviewing and all that stuff, but also they look at owned media too. So do you own anything? Is your content aligned with your expertise? Do you have a podcast or a YouTube channel? So that is what I teach. That is, but yeah, it started because I had a book and I was like, how am I going to get it out here? And I just so happened to Google and I saw so many people talking about media. So I was like, well, let's give it a try. And here we are almost 7 years later.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to explain to my old boss, I go, this is what we have to look forward to in 2024, that websites, business websites are
Yeah.
adding a new link, and it's called podcast. And
Mm-hmm.
if you scroll down, who have you interviewed with?
Yep.
And the more numbers you have, it's more like try to look at it as a customer and be like, oh yeah, yeah, they've been featured here, here, here. It's going to help get business. But
Yeah.
if you're just holding off and not wanting to do a podcast, then I
Yeah.
don't know what to say then. I see the new world coming to us,
Yeah.
and I mean, we got to learn what AI is, and even if we want to use it, because I know I want to be more personal than what AI. It may help
Yeah.
me out in many features, but I just don't know yet. So I got to educate myself on all of that. But there's many
Yeah.
things. So,
I
but yeah,
think
that's
having a
cool.
podcast is so important to a
Mhm.
business. I tell people all the time, like, Mattress Firm has a podcast. Like, some of the things that you use every day have podcasts. Some of the organizations, like, I know nonprofits that have podcasts. It's a
Yeah,
really great way to not only get the customers, like you were saying, but really increase your visibility because the old way of doing things is slowly becoming obsolete. Like if you notice, like you don't get flyers in the mail like you used to and
I
postcards
know.
like you used
I
to. Like
know.
everything is digitized now. And so as business owners, you have to like keep up with the times. And podcasting is one of the greatest ways to do that.
Yeah, and one thing as a marketing director, I noticed out of my past 2, 3 jobs I've had, you know, I think it just goes the way people were getting their business door to door knocking.
Yeah.
No, there's so many soliciting, do not come in here. I had better luck with emails each time. But the moment I've ever said that, it was like, oh no, I'm shut down. We need somebody to still go door to door. And, let them go and do that. Have fun. You're not going to get through it.
Yeah.
I had more people say at a networking event, oh, I got that email and I do want you to come in and da da da. Da," and the connection was still firm.
Yeah.
Had the email, they had the face now. So, I think that's the best way that people should go about it. But the door to door thing, that's just driving in circles right now to me. So,
It is. It because
but
it
you got to
doesn't
think about,
work.
yeah, it's more work than somebody's paying your mileage or gas
Mm-hmm.
and tollway fees. I mean, it's expensive to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And, I remember being on those rides going, I pulled into one venue. Do you have an appointment? No, but we've been, so and so here
Yeah.
before, and they let me in because of that. But, it's kind of filtered. It's off, base and stuff. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Times are changing. That's all I have to say about that. So, and are you teaching about all the social media aspects too?
Yeah, so I definitely teach on what I call the digital footprint, and really help entrepreneurs mainly is who I work with. I help them to see like what media is looking for. So they're checking out your website, they're looking at your social media, they're checking to see if the content, the things you're posting about aligns with your expertise, right? And then they're searching you on Google. So they're looking, like you were saying, who have you been interviewed by? Right? Like, have you been on
Yeah.
other people's podcasts? That's what they're looking at. And I always tell people, as a podcaster myself, I know that I do the same thing when someone wants to be on my show. I'm like, let me research this person. Let me
Yeah.
look at their digital footprint. And if you haven't really been interviewed a lot, like I probably will pass, because it's like I can't really get any information about you like I would
Yeah.
need to interview you. So yeah, I teach that too.
Exactly. Yeah. I know I freely gave some advice to some people, and I had somebody come, I just got to learn about hashtags, you know? There's some things I didn't quite understand. And, everybody's like LinkedIn for 2024, that's where you need to be. And
Yeah.
okay, I mean, I've had a LinkedIn many years ago, but I was like, I'm still trying to figure that one out. It feels like a resume building place to meet people. I get it, but now you're hearing about media kits. I
Yeah.
believe in my eyes, that's going to take over a resume by
Oh yeah.
far
I
than your
think
media.
everybody should have one, especially if you're an entrepreneur. Like you need a media
Mhm.
kit.
Yeah.
You need a one sheet that gives an overview of your
Yeah.
business. You need headshots. Like these are things that
Thank
people
you.
don't think that they need. And I'm
Uh-huh.
like, but then they want to be like, oh, I want to get media attention. And it's like, well, are you media ready? That's another thing that I teach is like, are you media ready? Do you have the bio
Yeah.
together, the headshots together, your media kit? Like everybody's not going to need a media kit, right? But
Hmm.
some of the bigger media platforms will. Like if you want to go pitch to Essence or Forbes or even the New
Yeah.
York Times, like they're going to ask for those things. So you want to make sure you have those things and it's
Yeah.
up to date. Like I
Exactly.
have had people pitch to be on my show, and like when I go look, I'm like, wait, that doesn't match what you put on this form. Like it's not up to date. And so it's like you got to do your due diligence. You got to make sure your bio is up to date, your media kit, your website is up to date. Like all
Yes.
of those things need to be current.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even with the website and, who have you interviewed with last?
Yeah.
Has it been a month or 2 months? Are you staying active? I mean, being proactive is very important also.
Yep.
So, girl, I'm glad I'm talking to you. My Instagram I've used before, and I'm doing it again. And along with Instagram is Pinterest. I've had that.
Mm,
I'm a photographer. I did Pinterest.
yeah.
And and I see where it gets linked out and everything, but for me, I never got in any business. Now, I could say, hey, do different poses that you like from other people and make me a board and send it to me. Yeah, that's helpful. Even
Yeah.
for wedding coordinating too. That was very helpful. Um, but the Instagram I've done, but I have more fun these days on TikTok. Who would
Yes.
have known? My son is like, let me show you how to use this, mom. I was like, you're 11. I'm going to be 46. You know more about TikTok than mommy? It's
Yeah.
like, he's like, here's the filter. I go, ooh, that makes me look pretty. It's like,
Yeah.
but he's
TikTok's
like,
amazing.
I know. And it's a different industry, like
Hmm.
than Instagram. And I
Yeah.
mean, people may go, it's younger, but it is younger. That's the people who's going to be following us and giving us
Yeah.
business and everything. So you got to have the bigger mindset going
Hmm.
into the world of business. And as a photographer, yes, having your profile pictures done and up to date. I mean, if you're using something that you look like maybe 30 years old or 40 and you're really hitting 70 or something, you got to put the 70-year look.
Yeah.
What do you look like now? People want to know who you are. Don't surprise them like at a trade show and go, hi. And they go, who are you? It's like,
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Me personally in my business, I do a photo shoot like twice a year. Like I have
yeah,
my photographer on retainer, so I'm like, we need new photos. Like I'm always, because especially as you're like getting your footing in as an entrepreneur, you want to have like fresh photos of you you know, I'm big on in action photos. I love a good photo of just like you catching me doing something, because those
Yeah.
things like humanizes you as a CEO. Because I think a lot of times people don't realize that your audience needs to see the human side of you. They need to see the lifestyle. They need to see you
Too.
having fun. And that's what I love about TikTok, because I feel like TikTok is like the entrepreneur's platform. Like you can share business content, but then you can also
Yep.
share fun stuff. You can share you getting dressed. You can
Exactly.
share yourself traveling. You can share all these things, and like you'll still get great views. Whereas like I feel like Instagram and Facebook has kind of like become so like robotic in what you share and how you share and all that stuff. And so yeah, I'm a fan of TikTok.
See, for Facebook, I like group pages more than page because that gets more people. So, and are
Yeah.
interactive. Um, the other thing is between LinkedIn and Linktree. I like
Mm-hmm.
Linktree because if you are doing podcasts, it lets you have that platform to put all your shows, and you
Yeah.
can quickly hit the button and say, I think you would like this show. And, it's like easy to show and bring other people on. Like,
Yeah.
this is everything I've done, they're like, whoa, she's like really on top of it. So,
Yeah.
but if you're passionate about doing podcasts, I've learned you're either the host, the podcaster, or you're the guest.
Mm-hmm.
It goes both ways. You said,
Yeah.
interviewing people, I love it. I have so much fun. I
Yes.
feel like this was made for me and a part of my calling and everything. So, and just as it's starting out, it's been a short time for me. You've been in it longer.
Yeah.
You learn as you go, your
Yep.
interviewing style, yourself. I feel like I'm doing better, I guess, the past 2 days now, be like, hey, what's up? Because you get scared. What if you have a blooper on your
Yeah.
podcast? I think I accidentally said, instead of moment, I said moment. And I was like, well, hashtag that word. It's a moment. We
Yeah.
just changed it.
Have fun
Have
with it.
fun. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like,
I love
so
that, because I think a lot of, especially new podcasters, that's what they get tripped up on that. So it's like I had one of my mentees, she was like, what do you use to edit your episodes? I was like, I don't edit. She was like, so
yeah.
you give it to them like raw and uncut? I was like, yep.
Yep.
Like however this comes out, that is what we're gonna go. And I used to, like, my first
Yeah.
season of my show, I'm 4 seasons in, like I was that stickler, but then I was like, that takes away from the fun, that takes away from the
Yeah.
authenticity, that takes away from why I created the show. And so I'm like, no, you just gonna get it how it's recorded, real raw and uncut. Let's have fun.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I realized after I did my first guest speaking, I go, oh no, I had lipstick on my tooth. And I go, don't worry about it. Lipstick on the tooth, I'm fine. You can still air that. I don't care. It is what it is. So I
Yeah.
was just happy to get it done. And, I think it's fun to be interviewed by people because it's a
Yeah.
learning experience. And,
Yeah.
you know, I think it's funny because my mom, my dad, stepmom, they're always just watching news or something else with somebody interviewing somebody. And I'm like, okay, I've been doing this since April. Have you even seen me interview anybody? No, no. I was like, okay, well, I feel like these podcasts, like I got catfish this year by
Mm.
a celebrity, which I know it wasn't really the celebrity, but it came in 10 different accounts.
Oh
And
wow.
I remember I was like, this is so much. Like, I'm going to do a podcast on catfishing. But instead, I looked up catfish, and I think it was an MTV
Mm-hmm.
podcast called Catfish. So I listened to it and I was like, yeah, that happened and that happened and that happened, you know?
Yeah.
And this is how they threw me. And then I had to learn. This is a hard one. Okay, yeah, I'll give you a call, but it has to be late at night because I'm out in Sweden, whatever. And the call came through and I saw the face and then
Mm.
it went away.
Yep.
I was like, anybody could have done that. Maybe he had to stay, freeze, and AI put
Mm-hmm.
that celebrity's face on him. Oh, bad connection. So I just said, please don't write me anymore. Your catfishing days are over.
Yeah.
So no, yeah, it's like, yeah, it's just sad when somebody has that and they're stealing somebody's identity. So, and then Facebook, unfortunately, so that happens too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I got a friend request from you. Is that accurate? And
Yeah.
you got to be careful that way too. So,
Yep.
oh my goodness. Is there any other platforms that I've missed with you? Like, okay, Instagram, Twitter. The
You
whole
know,
Twitter now, is it just called X?
it's
I'm like,
called X. I got off of
oh,
Twitter. Like, I had like a Twitter account for a very long time. And then I was like, And then when like Elon Musk took over and then he changed it to X and all, I was just like, I don't even want to be on Twitter anymore. And then I used to be on Clubhouse. Clubhouse was like really cool for like all the social audio type. Like, if you were a person that kind of like wants to be seen, like heard and not seen, like Clubhouse was the place because it was like all you had to do was like, have a profile picture and people could hear your voice. Like you didn't have to
yeah,
like get dressed or anything like that. So like I was on Clubhouse for a while when it was like the thing, it was hot. But now it's like all these social media platforms have like rooms now. So like LinkedIn has LinkedIn rooms, Twitter has Twitter space. All this is like, oh my God. Like y'all are just adding too much to social media these days.
I know, like stick it to maybe two or three at the
Yeah.
most. But, I love how, like with podcasts, you can put all your other social media links in
Yeah.
and they just output it for you
Yeah.
now. I mean, that's a good thing. It saves time and everything. But, when I interview, yeah, I think it's a part of being a photographer. I mean, it's like you'll always hear doing a photo shoot. Oh, when do I get to see them? Can
Yeah.
I? Are they done? I was like, no, it actually takes a week to be edited, but I'll give you a sneak peek.
Yeah.
And what I've learned is what is the actual process and how long does it take to get it converted and
Mm,
then send it over to the person and have it addressed here and here, here. So it takes me maybe 15 to 20 minutes to go throughout the outlets, but you know what? I got it done the same day. And that's
yeah.
what I love. And then sometimes if I'm going to go out after we're, doing this, I'm going, it might come to you tomorrow morning too. It doesn't take long to do. That's the key. So,
Yeah. It doesn't.
yeah. Yeah. So, but definitely, and then with everything else, the books, can you
Mhm.
talk about each book or no?
Yeah, I mean, so I will tell you, like, my first 8 books were all like memoirs. I talked a lot about my healing journey
Oh, wow.
from childhood trauma. So I always tell people my backstory is I'm the daughter of 2 addicts. Like, both my parents battled with addiction, both of them were in and out of prison. So I was raised by my maternal grandmother and my aunt. And so as a child, I was writing. That was kind of my way of escape. I never thought
Yep.
I'd be an author though, but like that was kind of like my way of like not dealing with the reality of what I was facing. So I always like created these like interesting stories. Like my father was a CIA agent on a top secret mission. Like that was kind of like my go-to story when people would ask about my parents because I had too much guilt and shame around being the daughter
Yeah.
of 2 addicts. So fast forward to like 2015 when God laid it on my heart to write my first book,
Mhm.
Unapologetically Me. I talked about my love-hate relationship with my mother and the complexities of mother-daughter relationships in that book because there was a time in my life where I had to kind of take her in and help her during her addiction recovery. And it was rough because as long as she was like out on the street at a distance, like I could love her, I could be there for her. But when she and I came face to face in my house, it was like all these emotions that I had that I never really dealt with came to the surface. And
Yeah.
so that year of my life was like a year where I feel like God wanted me to know that like I needed to heal that part of my life. And so I wrote about it. And that book to this day still sells because so many women have found themselves in those pages where they're like, man,
Yep.
I thought it was just me that struggled with my relationship with my mother. Like,
Yeah.
and I think that's the beauty of writing a book and telling your story is that like you realize that you're not by yourself. Like
Yeah,
you have these
definitely.
complexities, other people do. So from there, I kind of took parts of my life and started putting it in the pages of different books. My second book, Courage to Win, really is the book for people that have ever felt discouraged in their life. I
Mhm.
went through like a season where it just felt like disappointment after disappointment after disappointment. And I was just like, oh, how do you just like keep going? Right, when life is knocking you down, and that's what it was feeling like. And so I started writing, and I started just what came to me was that it takes courage to keep winning even
Yeah.
when life is knocking you down, even when you're facing disappointment. Like it takes courage to kind of keep pushing and not let that disappointment defeat you. And
Exactly.
then I went through a period where I buried 5 loved ones in 1 year.
Oh,
One of
wow.
them, yeah, one of them was my fiance at the time. He passed away at the age of 30. And I wrote a book called Defining Moments. And really, that was a book about my grief and loss journey and all
Yeah.
the lessons that I had learned on the journey of healing after that. Because for a span of 1 year, 2018 to 2019, like I literally, it started with him. Then a good girlfriend of mine was murdered. My dad died. Like it was just back to back deaths. And
Oh, wow.
so at the time that I was grieving, praying, God was just like, I want you to document this journey. And I was like, why? Like, I don't want to talk about this. But I was obedient. I wrote it. And honestly, that book became one of my like best-selling books because so many people that I was connected to were grieving. I didn't even know. And I just shared like some of the things that I had to learn on my own journey of how to recover after that. So then after I wrote that book, my fourth book was a is Power of Reconciliation, and that book
Mhm.
I wrote because there was a time on my healing journey. My mother had 6 kids. I'm the oldest girl. All of us were
Okay.
raised in different households, except for my older brother and the one that comes right after me. And so 3 of them she gave up for adoption. Never heard anything about them. Like we knew their names, but that was as far as we knew. And so, right in the middle of a pandemic, my mother ends up getting brutally beaten up by a drug dealer, ends up in the hospital. Like we thought she was gonna die. Like that's how severe it was. And at the same time, this is happening where she's now having to face surgery, go through learning how to walk and talk and all of that again. My grandmother who raised me gets a call from the woman who adopted my other 3 siblings, and we got to reconcile. And so I wrote
Yay!
the book about what it was like finally getting those answers because I've always wondered like where they
Yeah.
were in this world and what was going on and everything. And so we had this beautiful reconciliation right in the midst of a global pandemic. And so I wrote about the power of reconciliation and how it helps you to heal from the inside out. And
Nice.
then yeah, and so after I wrote that book, I wrote a few journals that spoke to
Uh-huh.
like healing and reconciling. And then from the journals, I put out what was supposed to be my last book. That made it was supposed to be my last one. Put out, it was called Born to be Unbound. And that book talks about how we are born into this world limitless and
Mhm.
fearless, and when we tap into that part of us, that we can be unstoppable. And so I
Yeah.
wrote that as kind of like kind of like a conclusion to all the books that I talked about my pain and my trauma, because I wanted people to know that like there is life after. Like you
Afterwards,
can
yeah.
reclaim your life, you can heal from trauma. And so Born to Be Unbound was kind of like my way to close it all out by saying, walking your freedom, walking your limitless potential, walking that fearlessness that God is giving you, and be unbound. Like you don't have to live in that space of trauma anymore. So, and now the ninth book that's coming out is different because nobody's ever seen this. Like nobody's read the CEO version of Leah. Like they've known her for all her nonfiction memoirs. And so I'm excited about Boss Women Pitch is the name of the book. And I give them the 9 steps I took to
Yeah.
mastering the media and getting media attention. And so I'm super excited about it. It releases on January 30th, which is actually my
Oh,
birthday. So I'm
well,
excited.
happy birthday. I'm January 28th.
Yes,
Yay!
Aquarius.
Eagles fans, and our birthdays are so close together. That's
I love
awesome.
it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm just at this age, 46, it's just another number to me. And I was like, I don't want to do anything really. And my mom's like, well, last year you had a big party. I go, yeah, that was 45, you
Right.
know? It's like,
Milestones. Like,
yeah, the milestone ones will have a bigger event, like go out and friends and everything.
yeah,
But
I love it.
yeah, so, but definitely in the journals, are those up?
Mm-hmm.
You're selling those and everything? Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm going to be adding all of this to our storefront on keephopealivepodcast.com. So you'll
Nice.
be able to watch our little special podcast here and then go to the store part and get your books.
I love
So,
it.
yeah, definitely. Well, it takes a lot of time and energy, and I love how you said God is giving you that strength, and it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm going to do this. I mean, when I was thinking, okay, when they say you want to start a podcast, have a niche. Okay, well, for me being a wedding planner and a photographer, wedding industry, but I was also in hotel. But where am I the most? In the hospital. And doctors, were saying, hey, I want to be on your podcast. I was like, okay, well, maybe I doesn't just need to be that.
Yeah.
I was like, people just come to me at times and tell me their problems. I don't know who they are, but I listen and I'm
Yeah.
patient and I will speak when it's the correct time. And I was like, you know what? This is what God wants me to do.
Yeah.
And then my friend who I talked to every day, it felt like for the past 5 years, yeah, she passed, and we were always talking on the subject. We just want to be heard. So I
Yes.
was like, this is it. This is
Yeah.
my sign to go out there and bring this. So and there was a
I
lot
love
of
that.
things that brought this about, and I'm just happy. I'm grateful. And I think it means more when it's under God's umbrella and
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
watching over you. So definitely. And I go to my church every Sunday and I listen and I count how many times they use the word hope. And they use
Mm-hmm.
it a lot, you know.
Yeah.
My doctor said you need to find grace. And I'm like, grace? Okay. That was a new word, it's like, and there's hope and there's joy and
Yeah.
fearless and it goes to everybody, which is amazing. So, and then there's different things to do. I don't know with your podcast, do you guys have any charities yet that you
I,
donate
d-
to?
I don't have any charities that I donate to, but I personally do a lot of like sexual assault work because I'm a survivor. And so that's one of the reasons why Thrive means so much to me, because I
Yeah,
always tell people there's a difference between surviving and thriving. And so
yeah,
even with the podcast and God giving me the name Hey Queen Thrive, like I'm like you, I love when the people use the word thrive because it gets me all excited. I'm like,
yeah,
yes, you get it. And so that's why I created the space, really, because I wanted it to be an empowerment type of show where they hear from everyday people that
yeah.
are living life and going through business trials and all of that. And they get these nuggets, and I just love it. Like, I've named my community the Thrive Tribe, and that's how
I love it.
like interview when I do my little spiel on my show. I'm like, "What's up, Thrive Tribe?" Like, and they respond. Like, I think that's the beautiful thing about creating a podcast, because you really are creating a community, and
Yeah.
people want community. And so I love it when I can, like, I could be on social media and someone from my Thrive Tribe will message me and be like, "Oh my God, that episode you put out about such and such, it was so good." And I'm like, yes, this is why I created the show, because I wanted people to feel like they were a part of something bigger
Yeah.
than themselves. And I wanted them to be empowered. I wanted us to have conversations that everyday media is not going to have. You're not going to hear it on Fox News, but you can hear it on Hey
Yeah.
Queen Thrive, and you can learn from and get the information you definitely want to have. So that's why I love my podcast.
Yay. Yeah, that's awesome. That is beautiful. I love it. And I know the joy I feel after I get all my work done with the podcast and I send it out. And then usually I'm like, I'll get into my bedroom. I have one of those Alexa, it's a frame.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll usually sit on my bed and look up at it and I will say, "Keep hope alive, just added a new episode." And I'm like, "Oh, cool." I was
Yeah.
just like, but to hear your own voice, I kind of like, eh. But like, there was one episode, it scared the crap out of me, and it was for Halloween that it was a house in Mineral Wells that was haunted.
Mm.
And I think it was like, I don't know if she was like an RV, but there was a window behind her, and I was like, it was dark out there, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get through this interview. And I was alone in the office, and it's dark outside. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it just kind of. But I listened to it in the morning. I wanted to hear it again. So,
Mm.
but I don't know about you. I'll look back every week at where it's been around the
Yeah.
world. How are
Mm-hmm.
they using it? What cities I in right now? So I look at all those, and you know what I do? I say a little prayer,
Yeah.
for everybody. It's like this pinpoint map. Thank you so much for watching my show. And it means a lot to me. So, and I know it means a lot to you.
Yeah. 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 I do the
That is
same
a,
thing. I'm always checking my analytics, and just knowing that, like, I created something that touches lives. Like,
yeah,
I feel like that matters. I always tell people, like, for me, when I think about legacy, like, I always say I want to know that when I leave this earth, that people show up to my funeral to talk about the impact I've made and how I've been such a
that's
blessing
how I
to
am.
people. Like, I don't really care so much about, like, all the media attention and who interviewed me and all that. It's like, did I make an impact though? Like, did I say something or do something that resonated and touched somebody's life? Like, that's what I care about at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's what I care about too. I
Yeah.
also, I'm about to be Gigi in August, and I think about my kids. They're 10 years apart, so my youngest is 11 right now, and if for any reason I did go to heaven,
Mm-hmm.
I would want them to look back on my photography work. I want them to
Yeah.
look back at my wedding coordination, these skills that I had, and then the podcast. This was
Yeah.
this was your Gigi. She's on. Look at, she has these videos that you can watch and learn from also, even if I wasn't there. So,
Yeah.
I think that's what really makes my day, knowing that
Yeah.
you can go back and see these. So, and it's kind of like life on record, collecting those voices, for
Yeah.
people to
I
hear
love
back.
that.
So, but yeah, definitely. So, is there any new things you're going to be coming out with for this year or next year? Do you have big plans?
I will probably say the biggest thing that I'm planning now is a live recording of Hey Queen Thrive. So, being that we are 4 seasons in, just celebrated 3 years, I kind of want to close out
Yay.
the fourth season with a live recording. So, I'm kind of, that's in the works for sure this year. But honestly, this year is one of those years where I'm kind of like just going with God. I'm like, I don't, I tell people 2024, I feel like it was such a different year because I didn't do like vision boards and all the stuff I normally do coming into a
Yeah,
year. I kind of just was like, whatever you want to do this year, Lord, let's just do it. So
I
that's pretty
know.
much probably the biggest thing is the live recording. I'm super excited about it because it's an opportunity to bring my Thrive Tribe to me and us in a space and like really get to connecting. And that's what I want.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You're gonna have to tell me how that goes.
Yeah.
I haven't done anything live yet. And it's just that, even if it was through the computer and, I don't want to be the person who's going, what did they write? And squinting all the
Yeah.
time and trying to answer. I was just like, no, 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 no. I'm just, I'm going to let it come to me. And
Yeah.
I'm starting to notice that my first season, I just did audio and
Mm-hmm.
lessons that I've learned to teach it out, talking about pay it forward
Yeah.
and then, helping others and what it means to the world. So those have actually pulled increased. And I was like, you know what? Should I do it again? I have so many videos. If I do a solo one, I do it by myself? And I'm like, my self-confidence is like, no, I'll look like a dork because when I talk, my eyes squint, shake my head. I'm very social and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
So I just didn't want to mess that up or anything. But the audio makes a difference. So,
Yeah.
but definitely. So yeah, you having your group, your podcast, your books, my gosh, and teaching away. I mean, what's the biggest thing that you can tell our listeners here
Mm-hmm.
about hope? Has hope played in any of this?
Absolutely. From beginning to end, it definitely has. I think the thing that I want people to understand and take away really about hope is that to me it's your luck, your lifeline. Like if you don't have hope, then what do you have? Right?
Exactly.
And so I think that even when it gets rough, even when it gets tough, even when you're up against, discouragement and disappointment, find that little glimmer of hope, right? Think on some of those really great things, because I think oftentimes what we see is that people, life happens and then we're like, I just give it all up, right? But
Yep.
sometimes you have to like my significant other would say, he would be like, are you looking at the glass half empty or half full? Because as long as it's
Oh,
half full, you got hope. Like it's
yeah.
not the end of the world. Like life might be happening and nobody's going to be immune to life happening, but it's really on how you look at it. And I always tell people, for me, when things start to go happen, I'm always like, what's the lesson that I'm supposed to be learning in this season? Or what is
Yep.
it coming to teach me? Or what am I supposed to be developing from that? Because a lot of times when adversity comes, it's not really to hurt you, it's really to grow you up. And so when you
Yep.
start to look at it that way, you'll find that you'll remain hopeful even in the bad times.
Yeah, definitely. Well said. That's awesome. Yeah. So I hope I asked you all the right questions. Am I missing anything?
No, this was great. I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation.
Good. Good. I did too. I really enjoyed it a lot. So I also really want to quick thank all our sponsors for Keep Hope Alive. As we mentioned before, we have lifeonrecord.com, your interactive guest book for your events. Um, so check them out. We have bridalshowsinc.com. So if you are in the Dallas Fort Worth area and you're planning a big wedding or social event, they host about maybe five, maybe six shows out of the year. You can see where they're located. I know they are already doing Las Colinas, and Dallas Bridal Show is coming up at the end of January. But you can go meet those vendors, see their showcase, talk to them, set up appointment times, and maybe even book them there. So it's a great, great big event. Our next one is Miles and Smiles Events, Miss Deborah Rose. Her background is like an investigation, but what she does for events is amazing. She is a handwriting analyst and a lipstick reader. And, here I am going, yeah, there's no way she's going to get it right with me. But when she did it, she was with my other two people that I worked with. She got every single person right. I've seen her in action at her events, and I am telling you, I'd rather just sit with her all day and watch people go through that and go, wow, how did she get that? So check her out. We also have Ogden Ventures LLC, and Marquise is his name. He is our new sponsor, and he was pro football player for many teams, but he is now a public speaker and doing podcasts and getting out there in the world and giving that message. So look him up. I will have more information about him soon. We also have Bryce Harney, and it's www.brycemagic.com. Gave it away. He's a magician, a mind mentalist reader. He does church events, corporate events, all big events. And he's been on TV a few times too for his work, and he's amazing. So check him out. We have richmondpunch.net. Richmond graduated from the Juilliards. He's a violinist. He's had some spots on Lifetime shows to play the violin. And then also, he's played in front of a million people before. This guy ain't shy, but he's coming back home. I'm so happy to announce that. He was Dallas Fort Worth, then he went to Georgia, and now he's back coming to Dallas. And I'm like, yay! So doing new events. They'll be listed also on our Facebook page for Keep Hope Alive podcast. With that we have only one more, and I love this one because they did my hair. I love it. They've been doing my hair ever since they opened the TK Hair Salon in Plano, Texas. So yeah, you all book your tickets to Plano, Texas to go there, get your hair done. They do men's, children's, women's, updos, coloring, facial, all that stuff. So check them out at tkhairsalon.com. Now remember, if you have any questions for us, you can call 833-780-HOPE, which is 4673, and leave us that message. I promise I'm going to send it to you if they have questions for you as well. So, and then wherever you guys find your podcast, you'll be able to find Keep Hope Alive podcast. We have many shows coming up, and we are in season 10. I was going to ask you about, I put 10 episodes in a season, but we are on season 10.
Nice.
So, but we look forward to seeing you guys again. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Love and
Thank
light.
you.
Bye, guys. I always kiss goodbye. Bye bye.